What is up, awesome people? For tonight, I'm bringing you a mixed tier battle up against Jbutterz. Alrighty, so before we kick off the battle, let's have a quick question of the day. Who is your favourite Pokemon? Leave it in the comments section below. And without further ado, let's kick straight into battle, because this one is actually a particularly long battle. At the same time, it was a really intense battle that had me shaking at one point as well because of how intense this freaking battle was. Anyways, he's going to lead off with an Ordino, and I'm going to lead off with my Ambipom. Now that Ambipom's a bit of an anti-lead, and this Ordino kind of threw me off a little bit because I don't see a lot of Ordino leads. But regardless, he's going to swap out there and go straight into his Executor. So I'm like, oh, that's cool. I'm going to fake this thing out regardless, try and get a little bit of damage off onto it, and I can see how defensive it is. So this thing's definitely more special defensive, as most Executors are. I'm going to taunt this thing just in case it's going to go for a Sunny Day, or Trick Room in that case, just in case it was like a Sunny Day user for Harvest. But as I said, it's a Trick Room user, so this is definitely a Trick Room team. So I'm like, oh goodness, I don't particularly like Trick Room teams because they're a big pain in the ass to counter if you don't have the right counters. So Knockoff does a lot of damage there. That Executor was down to the red. Going to swap out there, back into Ordino as I go for the U-turn out of there. So that's great. I can create a little bit of momentum at least and bring back Ambipom later if I need it to deal some damage or break a sash if needed. I'm going to send in my Sharpedo here. So this Ordino is carrying leftovers, and I'm guessing if his Executor is special defensive, this thing will definitely be a physically defensive Ordino. So I'm going to Mega Evolve here into Mega Sharpedo. I didn't particularly want to muck around too much with trying to get a speed boost up for my Sharpedo. It's usually how I go for the Sharpedo, but since I'm not running Protect, it's better off just to go straight for the Mega Evolution. Now I actually made a boo-boo there thinking Ordino was a Fairy type going straight for the Poison Jab, but I completely blanked here, and Mega Ordino is the only Fairy type, not normal Ordino. But regardless, it got the Trick Room up there, so I'm like, okay, so this thing led off to try and set off a Trick Room. So anyways, I was lucky enough to get a Poison there on Poison Jab, so I guess that was one good thing coming out of Poison Jab. He's going to withdraw Ordino there, probably going to bring in something to counter my Sharpedo, and he does with Behemoth. So I'm going to swap out here because this thing's definitely running most likely Thunderbolt, and Trick Room is up, so it's definitely going to outspeed me. So I'm going to swap into my Doublade just to take whatever this thing is going to throw at me. So I get a Sword Dance up at least. And he's going to go for Signal Beam, so I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Usually these carry Thunderbolt. So yeah, that was interesting. So this thing is Life Orb, so I'm like, okay, that's interesting. So he's going to withdraw his Behemoth here, because this thing definitely can't do much to Doublade, and goes into Camerupt. So I'm like, hot damn, this is going to be scary, because this thing can hit like a monstrous truck with any type of fire moves if it Mega Evolves. So I'm fingers crossing here, thinking it's not going to, hopefully it doesn't Mega Evolve, but regardless I'm going to swap out just in case it does, and go into my Aromatisse, which is my special defensive wall. And of course it's going to Mega Evolve, so I definitely saw that one coming, and it's Mega Camerupt. So I'm like, well, this will be interesting. Let's see how hard this thing's going to hit my Aromatisse. So it's going straight for the Fire Blast here, definitely straight for that power. And this thing's going to absolutely smash my Aromatisse. It's a 2-hit KO with Fire Blast. So I'm like, damn, that's definitely got a lot of special attacks to get past my Aromatisse. So we're not screwing around here. We're going straight for the Hidden Power Ground, try and deal a little bit of damage to this thing, and it definitely tanks it like an absolute beast. And another Fire Blast that does connect, which is really lucky on his part, and that's going to take down my Aromatisse. So I wasn't exactly too thrilled to lose my special defensive wall this particularly early in the game. So I'm going to send back in my Ambipom. He's going to withdraw his Camerupt because he's predicting the fake out straight away here, and goes into his Meat Beater, which is his goddamn throw. So I'm like, well, this will be interesting. If his Executor is special defensive and Ordino's defensive, I was wondering what this was. But as soon as Toxic Orb activate, I'm like, ah, crap, this thing's a Guts user. So I'm going for Taunt just in case I had Bulk Up, but instead I go straight for the Facade, and that's absolutely going to decimate my Ambipom. So I'm like, well, that's cool. At least I got to scout a little bit of his moves out. So a little bit of poison damage there for my for the throw, sorry. And I'm going to send straight back in my Sharpedo, because I'm like, I can definitely outspeed this thing, and I can go straight for Zen Butt. Risk it all on Zen Butt, and lucky for me I do hit. If I did miss, that would have been some pretty bad news for me. I don't think I would have been able to take this thing down. But regardless, Sharpedo is definitely going to go down there to Circle Throw, but that's all good. Sharpedo did some nice damage there to throw, and the poison damage should be enough to take out this throw. Yes, it is. So that throw is going to go down. So I'm like, whew, that's one powerhouse down, which I was very happy about indeed. So I'm going to send in my Rhyperior here, and he's going to send back in the Ordino. So again, I think I blanked here. I'm like, keep thinking this thing's a fairy type, so I go for the Iron Head there. Would have been better just going for the Earthquake. Regardless of going with the Iron Head, still didn't get a flinch hack, so this thing definitely got a free Trick Room up. Even if I did throw up the Earthquake, I think this thing would have badly lived. Anyway, some leftover recovery there, which is going to be negated by the poison damage. So that's going to bring him back down to the orange. And he's going to swap out his Ordino here, probably fearing an Earthquake probably would take him out from that range. He's going to send in his Octillery. So mad props there for using Octillery. Very rarely see this Octillery. I think the last time I saw this Octillery was absolutely blasting me because I definitely wasn't expecting it. So I'm going to swap out there because I'm definitely predicting like a Surf or a Hydro Pump from this thing. Most likely Choice Specs, given that it's a Trick Room. Goes for the Surf, and thanks to Dry Skin on Heliolisk, that is going to be negated. So swapping out there, so I am definitely predicting it's a Choice Specs. Maybe Choice Scarf. I'm predicting Choice Specs, as I said, it's a Trick Room. He goes into his Mega Camera Up, predicting I go for a Volt Switch or a Thunderbolt, but since I did predict that switch, I went straight for the Surf, and that's definitely going to take out that Camera Up thanks to times 4 weakness. And with that, he's going to send back in his Executor, so I'm like, even that range, I don't think my Choice Specs Heliolisk is going to take out Executor with Surf, so I'm going to swap in my Dewblade, and Executor goes for Sleep Powder, so I'm like, well, that's good. At least it's my Dewblade, my wall, rather than a sweeper. That's probably better than losing a sweeper to sleep. So he's going to swap out there because the Executor definitely cannot do much to Dewblade. And he's going to send back in his Octillery. So I'm like, right, better go back into Heliolisk because this thing will definitely go for a Surf again, hopefully. I'm kind of risking a lot here, hoping to go for a Surf. So back into Heliolisk, and yes, it does go for a Surf. So again, the Dry Skin does activate and negates the Surf. So he's forced to swip out again, so it's definitely Choice Specs. I'm definitely laying down that it's Choice Specs. And this Ordino comes back out. I did go for the Volt Switch here just to create a little bit of momentum, deal some damage, nice damage to Ordino, swap out, and I can send back in my Rhyperior and just still probably take this thing out, if not very close. Alright, so leftover recovery there from Ordino, again going to be negated by the poison. That should bring it probably a little bit lower into the orange. And from here, I'm just going to go for the Earthquake. So even if he does decide to swap out Ordino, whatever swaps back into this Earthquake is definitely not going to like it. And he actually sends in Octillery again. And I'm like, well, this is definitely not going to like an Earthquake. Octillery isn't exactly a defensive Pokemon, both defensive and specially, so that's definitely going to go down. Octillery did not like that at all. So that poor Octillery just got rocked around so much thanks to Dry Skin and Heliolisk, and unfortunately just met an unfortunate fate. Alright, this Executor comes in, and I'm like, I can definitely outspeed this one. This is most likely hindering speed thanks to Trick Room, so Ice Punch is going to finish off the Executor. I'm definitely predicting it was special defensive wall, as most Executors are. Behemoth comes back in, so I'm like, oh, this thing should probably go down to an Earthquake. I don't exactly know Behemoth to be quite bulky, though it does live, so I'm thinking max health, max special attack maybe with Life Orb, or hindering speed for the Trick Room. So it does set up that Trick Room again, so I'm definitely thinking max health, max special attack. Gonna swap that Rhyperior there just in case I did have something to hit my Rhyperior. Actually goes for the Psychic there, so I'm like, oh, that's okay. Rhyperior isn't exactly special defensive, it's more defensive than anything, so Dewblade takes like an absolute beast. Life Orb almost takes out Behemoth there. I'm still sleeping on the job there, which is excellent. This Behemoth's known for Dewblade's known for that. Nasty plop there on Behemoth, so I'm like, that's very interesting. He's playing very risky there. If I do wake up this turn, Shadow Sneak him, he's going to go down, but he actually swaps out there, so I didn't see the point to the Nasty plot at all, unless he realised it wasn't going to kill. I did wake up there, and unfortunately I went for Shadow Sneak that turn, and it did fail thanks to that Ordino swap in. So I'm like, oh, that's cool, this Dewblade's finally awake. So I can at least set up a Sword Dance, and that should take out both Ordino with Sacred Sword and whatever to take out the Behemoth. I'm pretty sure this is only 2 Pokemon left in his party. So I get the Sword Dance up there, and he goes for the Heal Bell. So pretty late in the game with 2 Pokemon left, it's kind of GG already, so might be a little bit too late for that. But it does get rid of Ordino's poison, so I'm really praying here this Ordino doesn't have Flamethrower. Which, even if it did, I don't think it'd take out Dewblade thanks to its Everlight and really good defense as well on both. Well, it's got alright special, it's more defensive anyway. Sacred Sword does take out the Ordino, which leaves his last Pokemon, which is Behemoth, which is down on 1 health, and with that he does forfeit the match, and really I would have just taken that down with Shadow Sneak. But yeah, that was an excellent match all the way through, some excellent plays both parts. Definitely saved my ass there, predicting the Cameron swap in for the Surf, and predicting Artillery coming in as well for Earthquake. Even if he didn't swap, Earthquake would have taken out Ordino regardless. But yeah, as I said, I was shaking a few times during that battle because of how intense it was. I was very, very scared of Throw and Mega Camerupt as well. So definitely wasn't expecting Trick Room, and that definitely wasn't my first guess upon looking at that team. But that was lucky I had Taunt at the beginning. If I didn't have Taunt on Ambipom, I think that would have been a different story. And a few other parts as well. Can't believe I derped out on Ordino thinking it was a Fairy type. Stupid Mega thanks for that. But anyways, that's pretty much it for this battle. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and as always, thank you so much for taking the time of day to check out this video. And this is actually the first video on this channel, so I'd usually say make sure to check out my previous videos, but that's kind of not the case. So hopefully you'll be able to stick around for future episodes anyway. So before I head off, don't forget about the question of the day. Who is your favourite Pokemon? Leave your answer down in the comment section below. Let's see who's the most favourite Pokemon of all time. And with that, this is LadyKrimZen saying ciao for now, but not forever. Ciao!